Boom. Okay, so we want to create a game object here. You will often see that I create game objects that are basically empty and are just like containers for organization. So I want to say this is my environment. It's my environment container. So all the objects that I create, because I will have tons of objects, like you will see these will become like huge. I don't want them to be here and then I won't be able to find my player or something. So I will just put them here so I can like collapse that structure. So I'm gonna go ahead and create another one, and it's gonna be called background. And as I said, okay, so as you see here, I moved something in my scene, so now my objects are not being created in the center, which I don't really like too much. So here we are in the position we wanted. There you go. And I'm gonna put it here. Another thing to notice when we start doing the child thing is where our like global position or our local position will matter. If I move this guy, so if I go ahead here and I move this guy here, you will see my child is still on 0, 0. But if I take it out of the parent, it has the same position because that's the global position. Like we both, because I was on 0, 0, that was my global position. But under the child, my local position will be 0, 0, 0. Okay, so let's go back here. So you can press Ctrl Z every time that you want to go back. Okay, on our background, we want to have our background sprite, right? Because we want to show that in our camera. So you might think like, okay, I'm just gonna drag and drop it here. That won't work because I'm trying to drag and drop a sprite where I only can have components. So that won't work. If I put it here, Unity is great on those things. It will just create a child with the sprite, but we don't want that. Like we don't want to be environment, background, and background. There are two options. Like you can either just create this and have this as your environment and just change this to the same name we had here, right? Like that. So we have it right there. Or the other option is we have this, what we created before. We go ahead and find that little thing. If you don't know about it, you can just type here and you will be able to start searching. So sprite. So I say, oh, here, look, sprite renderer. So that's the one that I want to use. I need to put this here, and now we have our nice background. If we're gonna leave it there because I want to show you something, guys, and it's when we start adding our tiles. So I'm not gonna do any changes. Like this is just an image there, but you will see why I need to do some changes later. I'm gonna start creating now. I'm gonna create another object. This is gonna be called platform, and it's just another container. And I am going to create, I need this tile, which is basically the middle tile, and I'm gonna put it here. Okay, so as you can see now, my tile doesn't appear in my game, right? Like you will think maybe, oh, something is going on, something is happening, this is not correct, like it should appear there. Well, what is happening is that it's basically clipping. Like if you are able to see here, well, it's hard to see because these are like they don't have depth, but basically they are one on top of the other one and they are not being able to render properly. So it is there, but we can't see it. What we need to do to fix this is give like an order of positioning in the layers, right? So in order to do that, what we are gonna do is we are gonna go into our background and we have here the sorting layers, right? The sorting layers plus the order layers is something very good to use with the sprites. This will let us define some layers for certain things. So I'm gonna go and create more. So if you just missed that, I have here default. I can go in add sorting layers, and I can click this little plus button, and I'm gonna say background. So I have my background layer. I'm gonna create another one. I'm gonna say tiles. So I have these two layers, and depending on the order that I have them here, like I can move this here, they will appear in my game. So I need to change this to background, and my tile, I will change it to tiles, and now my tile just appeared. Simple as that. Right? Okay, so we have our tile there. It's nice, it's working. Now we can start creating our platform. So basically the platform is where our player will stand up, and we're gonna just try to match the same level that we have on here, just for the sake of this tutorial. So if we look, we have here our tile. That's exactly the same one that I just added. We just need the other corner and the other corner. So I'm gonna leave it here. I could change this to tile top middle or whatever, but this name doesn't really matter at this point. As long as you know what it is, it's gonna be fine. So I have it here. I'm going to look for the left corner one. I want to put this one here, and I'm going to look for my right one. Okay, so Unity has something great, which is I can move objects. Sorry, if I want to see this too, I need to change them to tiles, right? So if I move it, I now can see it. So we're gonna say this guy is our top left, and this guy is our top right. Okay, so if these tiles were of like a 1 unit value, similar, I'm gonna just show you here. I'm gonna go ahead and create a quad. So I have that quad there, if you see it. Let me just hide this guy. I can, first of all, click Ctrl D to duplicate it. And if I hold Ctrl and I move this guy, it will move exactly 1 unit to the direction that I'm holding it. So I'm able to easily stack tiles exactly where I need them, right? That's pretty good to have. And if we were like using exactly a 1 unit tile, but then if you see here, this one is not even like 2 units. It's like 2 and a little bit, like 2.5 probably. So unfortunately, that little trick won't work. Like you see, I have that gap in the middle. So one way to fix it will be to have the tiles being exactly 2 by 2, for example. Or we can just go ahead and do it manually, which sometimes is the case. And I'm just gonna do it here. And it's perfectly aligned. Once you have that number, let's see if I do 2.6. No, I need it to be exactly the same as before. So minus 2.559. I can copy that and I can go to my right tile, and we just noticed that that wasn't the right tile. Unfortunately, it looks like that was like the left one, right? Probably. Yes, looks like was not the correct tile. This one was the middle one. Oh, sorry, I was the one that did the mistake. So I'm just gonna go ahead and put this in 0, left here. Yeah, that was right. And I can put this one on here and just remove the minus, and we have our perfect platform there. This nice package has 3 more tiles that we can add. And we can say, I want all of these 3, put them here. Oh, sorry. I need to do 1 by 1, one here, another one here, and another one here. If I'm not wrong, I did left. This one will be bot left, bot for bottom, and bot middle, and bot right. Okay, and now we just have to match our middle one down. So, oh, you know what happened there is our sorting layer. You just have to put it in the right one, and now we can see our tiles. Okay, so it looks like I just have to move it here to match it perfectly. Cool. Okay, so that should do it. Oh, it looks like there's a little gap. If it overlaps a little bit, it's okay. It's not a big deal. Okay, so now we can use the same position for the y-axis. Remember, this is all like in a grid, and we can just change those. And then we know how much is for the left, so we can add the same value, and we know that the right will be the same but positive. There you go. We have a nice platform. Okay, so this platform looks pretty nice, right? Another benefit of putting them into this container is that now that I have my little container there, I can move the entire platform using just the parent, which is great. So I am going to put this down here, right here, and I believe what it's going on and why it doesn't look similar to our game. Like you can see here, this platform, if we put it exactly as it is in our game, like you see this little white line is our camera. If I put it like this, it won't match our game here. Like this platform looks way smaller. That's just because of how this is being rendered. And as well, how the camera is looking for it. So the camera has a nice parameter here, which is kind of like our field of view, and we can increase it or reduce it depending on how much we want to see in one glance. So for this game, we're just gonna put it like we're gonna increase it something like that. In theory, that might be too much, right? Yeah, so we will have a problem here, and is that if we have it like this, our game will look like like we can see that blue background, right? And we don't want that. Like that will look weird in our game. So one way to quickly fix it is just increasing our background. As long as we keep the same proportion, it will look fine. Okay, so we have our nice background. Now we can move this down here, and if we check it out in our nice project, it looks pretty much the same, right? Yeah, same size. That's good. That's good enough. And yeah, that's pretty much a good size. Let's see. Yeah, here we can see the extra space that we'll have on our final game. Okay, so now that we have our platform, we can add like those little details. That's just like a nice detail to have there. So we're gonna put this in here. As you see here, this platform was moved, but this guy was placed like to offset that change in the position 0. So we have to set this to tiles, and we want to move this guy to the position 0, 0, 0. So you saw now that our tile now our tile is not working, basically. That's because it doesn't know what to render first, right? That's our problem there. One way to fix it will be, you will might think, okay, let's create another sorting layer. But this is actually not like another sorting layer, right? This is part of my tiles. It's just a little detail that I want to add. I don't want to create a new layer just for that little thing. So what I can do is the ordering layer. So if I go ahead and say this is 10, now it's up. So the higher the number, the closer it will look in the screen. So it will be on top. So we have our little skeleton there. It's cool. Yeah, that matches there. Great. Now we have our nice tile that looks pretty much the same. But now this tile is just a piece of object. Like, it doesn't work for our player. Like, when our player when we put our player, it won't know that it's a platform. Like, there's no way that he knows that this is something that exists in the game. It will be just another image in the game. So we are gonna start covering something that is very important in Unity and is like a huge thing that you will always use, and that's colliders. So a collider basically is a shape that we create that Unity tracks, and it's able to track the collisions between colliders. So you can collide two colliders, and in that way we will know that something is here. So I can go here and say, let's go and look for here in our search. I want to look for collider. So the colliders will show me all the types of colliders that Unity has. There are 2D and 3D colliders. Make sure that because we are in a 2D game, we are using 2D colliders. So for this case, basically what we want to do is select the shape that fits the best the object that we want to have collisions with. So in this case, because this is basically a square, I'm just going to go ahead and create a box collider. So you see that little green thing there? That's magic. Like, that's gonna check for the collisions in our game. But that's pretty small. So there's two ways of changing the size of this. You can go here in the size and start increasing this and increasing this to match it, right? And with the offset. But that's a little bit tedious, right? There's a nice edit collider here that will enter in the edition mode of that collider, and I can just drag basically this here. I want to match it as much as I can because that's the most important piece, and the back, like the down part, it doesn't really matter too much, but just so our player doesn't like go through, we can just add it there. I want to have it here, put it over here a little bit. That's perfect. Okay, so I have my collider there and is colliding perfectly. Colliders have like the type of collider, like a box collider. I can have a sphere, I could have a cylinder or whatever, or I can even have a polygon, which is basically create a structure, a complex structure with different points, which will be not great for performance, but great for if we need like actual precision on the collisions. Then if we need to the material, I'm gonna explore that later, and the trigger is pretty important, and we also gonna use it later. For now, let's just forget about all the other properties. We will cover them as we use them. Okay, now that we have that in our platform, that platform is actually ready to be used. Okay, so this platform is perfect. When we have something like that in Unity, that we know, okay, that platform is gonna be probably used in multiple areas, right? Probably not because of the little like detail, but most of the time it will be, right? So on this case, what we could do is we can leave that thing outside, right? It's part of our platform, but it's not really. And that platform, we are just gonna drag and drop it in our prefabs folder. That basically just created our prefab. So our prefab, which is great, right, has been created with the same structure. Prefab is basically just like the instance, like a saved version of what I created here. That's why it's blue. Like when it's blue is because it's my prefab. I can put this back here and you can see here there's like a plus. It's not part of my prefab. I can move it and it's still, oh sorry, I can move the platform and it's still part of it, but it's not being added to my prefab. Now I am going to drop another prefab. So that's the magic of the prefabs, is I can just like instantiate another one. You can see now I have my other platform. Instead of having to recreate it completely, I just created another platform. I'm gonna put this into the oh sorry, I did a mistake there. We are going to roll back this. We are gonna put this back 0 0, right? Because we don't want that to be moved like that. We want to put it into our environment, so it's 0 0 0, and then we want to move it. That will be nicer to, so I just wanted to show you the right way to do it. Then when we add another platform and we put it in here, there you go, and I want to move it down here, so this one should be exactly on the corner, and this one we are gonna move it a little bit down here, right, just to match our game. Yeah, it's about right. That doesn't have to be perfect, but we have it there. So that's the magic of prefabs. And let's go into our thing. Now we have too much changes, so we gotta commit what we have changed one by one, basically, or like a bunch at a time, but that we know that we made the change. So we know in the sprites we did the change of changing the pixels per unit. So we can stage that and we can say change pixels per unit to 50 on tiles and objects. And we can, let me check that, yeah, and I can commit that. Then we created our prefab, our platform, but just in case, I want to add this first one. This is the sorting layers, which is handled by the tag manager, and we will see this often in this game. But basically our tag manager has added the background and the tile, so I'm gonna add this too. Added sorting layers for background and tiles there, and now I can save my prefabs. So I want to stage the prefabs with the prefabs because it's the first time I am adding this folder. Sorry, I for example did an error here. Added, it should have been add platform prefab, and then we need to also commit our sample scene. Update sample scene with environment. There you go, and we have our changes there. We can push that. We will pull first to check that no one else has any of these changes to avoid merge conflicts, but because I'm the only one right now, I can just push without fear. Okay, so how's everything going, guys? Remember, if you have any questions at all, just post them in the channel, in the chat, and I will be glad to answer you right away.